What happens when a duchess famous for shaping every conversation steps right back into the spotlight she once stormed out of? And what happens when the host she previously clashed with, a Grammy-winning icon known for grace, truth, and zero patience for manipulation, decides she's not letting history repeat itself? This wasn't round two. It was a reckoning. A reunion that promised closure but erupted into something much bigger. Welcome to the day Meghan Markle returned to the Jennifer Hudson show and walked straight back into the flames. From the moment the studio lights came up, the air felt electric, not excited, tense, sharp. The producers moved around with the stiffness of people trying not to step on thin ice. Microphones were checked twice, then again. Cushions were straightened. Camera operators whispered. And the audience, they clutched their applause cards like shields. Everyone remembered last time. Then that warm, unmistakable voice floated from backstage. Jennifer Hudson. Her presence steadied the room like a familiar chord. "Welcome back, everybody," she sang as she stepped out, glowing with her trademark brilliance. But behind that glow was something stronger. Resolve. Today, she continued with a bright smile, we're welcoming someone who has been at the center of global conversations. She's back on the show, and we hope today brings clarity, understanding, and maybe even healing. Please welcome Meghan Markle. Applause rolled across the audience, polite, warm, but careful. Meghan entered with the graceful glide of someone used to being looked at. A sleek white dress, posture impossibly straight, a smile that felt practiced and polished. Jennifer rose to greet her, her arms open, but not wide open. Just enough to be polite, not enough to be naive. "Meghan, welcome back." "Thank you," Meghan said smoothly, her voice cool, silky. "I appreciate the invitation." The word invitation hung strangely in the air, like she believed the show was lucky she showed up. They sat down. Jennifer crossed her legs, exhaled quietly through her nose, preparing for the storm she sensed coming. The audience did the same without even meaning to. "So, Meghan," Jennifer began gently, "a lot has happened since your last visit. New projects, new ventures, public conversations. How are you feeling stepping back into the spotlight today?" Meghan's smile tightened. "Well, Jennifer, I never left the spotlight. People just like to tell themselves I did. It's cute." A ripple of uneasy laughter fluttered through the room. Jennifer blinked, then rephrased with kindness. "Okay. Emotionally, mentally? How have you been while navigating everything?" Meghan's expression sharpened. "I don't measure my well-being by what the world thinks is happening, Jennifer. I'm grounded, balanced, evolving. I operate on a different level, one not dictated by drama." Jennifer tilted her head. "I think viewers just want to know how you're doing personally." Meghan folded her arms, the pose elegant but defensive. "I'm thriving. But it's interesting. Every time I say anything, people turn it into headlines. It's almost obsessive." Jennifer took a slow breath, choosing patience over reaction. "All right, let's shift. You launched a new nonprofit focused on empowering women. What inspired it?" For a brief moment, Meghan softened. Then the confidence returned, sharper, elevated. "What inspired it? Competence? Vision? Awareness? Qualities not everyone has. Sometimes it feels like people expect me to explain things that should be obvious." Jennifer's smile remained, but her eyes hardened just slightly. "I think folks just want to understand your mission." "And sometimes," Meghan replied crisply, "people should just listen instead of demanding explanations." A few audience members glanced at each other. Jennifer adjusted her note cards calmly. "Let's get specific. What's the first project your nonprofit is launching?" Meghan tapped her nails on the armrest. "I'd rather not share too much. People tend to criticize things before they're ready to understand them." "You mean," Jennifer said slowly, "you don't want feedback before launch?" Meghan gave a small, icy laugh. "I don't need feedback. I need space." A visible ripple of tension moved across the studio. Still composed, Jennifer shifted again. "Okay, let's talk family. How are Harry and the kids?" Meghan's eyes flashed, sharp, cold, like metal catching light. "Fine. Wonderful." Meghan answered, her smile unbothered, but her tone edged with irritation. "Though I do find it repetitive that people insist on asking about my marriage before anything else. Isn't that a bit reductive?" Jennifer's smile froze just slightly, and the audience's whispering grew louder, like a wave building just offshore. Meghan continued, either unaware or uninterested in the shifting atmosphere. "But I understand. People are fascinated. They always will be. It's the burden of being memorable." Jennifer folded her hands gently in her lap, breathing through the rising tension. "Well," she said softly. We'll dive into more topics right after the break. Stay with us, everybody. The applause that followed wasn't natural. It was hesitant, stiff, like everyone in the room was trying to warm their hands over a fire that had suddenly gone cold. And this was only the beginning. When the cameras came back on, the studio felt different. Heavier. The kind of tension you can feel pressing against your skin. The applause sign lit up, but the audience clapped like they were stepping into a storm blindfolded. Jennifer's smile returned, polished and practiced, but the strain behind it flickered like a pulse. Meghan sat pristine and motionless beside her, posture perfect, expression carved into cool confidence. Even the way she crossed her legs radiated authority, almost as if she were the one hosting. "Welcome back," Jennifer said with intentional composure. "We're here with Meghan Markle, talking about her work, her journey, and everything in between." Meghan dipped her head once, a gesture that looked more like permission than acknowledgement. Jennifer took a breath. "Meghan, earlier you mentioned that people misunderstand your intentions, or that they don't quite grasp the level you operate on. Could you elaborate on that?" Meghan lifted her chin slightly. Her voice was soft velvet with a blade beneath it. "Well, Jennifer, a lot of people think they understand me because they skim headlines." "But headlines?" She paused, letting her gaze skim the audience. "Headlines are written for the lowest common denominator. Not everyone is capable of understanding nuance." A ripple of murmurs spread like a shiver through the crowd. Jennifer's eyebrows rose. "So you're saying the public can't understand you?" "I'm saying," Meghan replied coolly, "that I have outgrown the public's expectations." For half a second, Jennifer's smile faltered, just long enough for the camera to catch the crack. "Let's move to something more concrete," she continued smoothly. "You recently hired a new team for your foundation. Some very high-profile Hollywood names. What guided those choices?" Meghan shrugged elegantly. "Excellence attracts excellence. I don't surround myself with mediocrity." Jennifer blinked. The bluntness had weight. "I understand wanting strong collaborators, but some have said your leadership style can be intense. How would you respond to that?" Meghan leaned back, folding her arms with a confidence that bordered on defiance. "Strong women are always labeled intense. If I were a man, I'd be called decisive, visionary, assertive. But because I'm Meghan Markle, suddenly ambition is an issue." Jennifer shook her head gently. "No one is questioning ambition, Meghan, but former staff members, people who worked closely with you, have said you were difficult to work with. That communication could feel—" Meghan cut in sharply. "Excuse me, are we really going there?" "I'm giving you space to respond directly," Jennifer said, keeping her tone calm and steady. Meghan let out a pointed scoff that echoed through the microphone. "Those people didn't understand my standards, and if they couldn't keep up, that's not my responsibility." The audience shifted uncomfortably. You could feel the air tightening inch by inch. Trying another path, Jennifer softened her voice. "All right, let's talk about motherhood. Many women watching admire how openly you've discussed raising your children. What's one thing motherhood has taught you about yourself?" For a split moment, Meghan's expression softened, then hardened twice over. "Motherhood has taught me," she began slowly, "that my children deserve better than what the world gave me, better than what the palace gave me, better than what the media gives me, better than this." Jennifer paused, understanding exactly what this meant. "This," she repeated quietly. "Are you referring to interviews? Scrutiny?" "Dissection," Meghan snapped. "People thinking they're entitled to my emotions, my story, my children." And honestly, Jennifer, I expected you of all people to understand that. Jennifer straightened, her voice firm but empathetic. "I absolutely understand wanting to protect your kids. I'm a mother too. But Meghan, you're here on a talk show. Our viewers care. They want to hear from you." "Care?" Meghan echoed, her laugh icy and cutting. "People care as long as I'm the character they want. The second I stray from the script, suddenly I'm difficult. Arrogant, ungrateful, it's tired, it's boring." Jennifer exhaled, feeling every molecule in the room tighten like a drawstring pulled too far. "Let's shift to something different," Jennifer said, her voice steady but not soft. "Your upcoming documentary, people are calling it your most personal work yet. What sets it apart from the others you've done?" Meghan pressed her lips together before answering. "It's different because for once I'm telling the truth without filters, without pressure, without being shaped by producers who have no idea who I am." Jennifer's eyes flickered, subtle but noticeable. "There were reports you clashed with your previous producers." Meghan's tone sharpened instantly. "Reports, rumors, lies. I don't clash. I elevate. And if someone can't rise to my level, that's not conflict. It's a boundary. The audience stared at her, wide-eyed and unmoving. Jennifer attempted another graceful pivot. Earlier, you mentioned feeling misunderstood in the UK. Do you feel more understood here in the United States? Meghan gave a thin, glacial smile. I feel tolerated, which is an improvement, but still not the level I deserve. Jennifer blinked twice, patience bending but not breaking. I think a lot of people appreciate your honesty. Honesty? Meghan leaned forward, her voice as sharp as a needle. Yes, Jennifer, that's exactly what this is. Honesty. If some people can't handle it, that's their weakness, not mine. The room fell into a hush so thick it almost had weight. Somewhere backstage, a producer froze mid-stride. Jennifer drew in a slow breath, steadying herself. Well, she said quietly, her tone edged with warning. We are certainly having an honest conversation today. Meghan smirked, the kind of smirk that invited consequences. You're welcome. Jennifer's smile faded to a thin line, calm, focused, and unshakably professional. But everyone watching could feel it. They were nearing the point of no return. When the next segment began, the studio felt less like a friendly talk show and more like a pressure chamber. The band played light, cheerful music, but it barely skimmed the surface of the tension simmering underneath. Jennifer faced the camera again. Her smile had returned, but it wasn't warmth. It was armor. Welcome back, she said evenly. We're here with Meghan Markle discussing life, work, and the stories behind the headlines. The applause light blinked on. The audience obeyed, but the clapping was uneven, hesitant. Meghan sat statue still, posture perfect, chin lifted. If she sensed discomfort, she didn't acknowledge it. Instead, she offered a polished, distant smile that never came close to her eyes. Jennifer shifted slightly, cards in hand. Meghan, I want to ask something many people are curious about. You talk often about your truth, your perspective. Do you ever feel any responsibility for how your words impact the people you talk about? Your family, the royal institution, even the media? Meghan's gaze sharpened instantly. My responsibility is to myself and my children, not to people who hurt me, exploited me, or profited off my pain. If someone feels uncomfortable with my truth, maybe they should have behaved better. A low ripple stirred through the audience. Jennifer didn't flinch. I understand that pain makes people want to speak out, she said gently. But when your words reach millions, they shape how the world sees the people you're talking about. Do you ever worry you might be doing to them what you say the press did to you? Meghan let out a cold, disbelief-filled laugh. Are you seriously comparing me to the tabloid press? I'm asking about impact, Jennifer responded calmly. Meghan tilted her head, as if baffled the question even existed. No, I don't lose sleep over how perpetrators feel about being held accountable. Jennifer nodded slowly, but the flicker of frustration in her eyes was impossible to hide now. All right, let's talk specifics. You've spoken about your father, your half-sister, your in-laws, members of the royal family. Some say you've cut off all contact, that they only hear about you through interviews and projects. Do you see any room for reconciliation? Meghan's jaw tightened. Why is the person who sets the boundary always the one interrogated? People ask why I don't call them, but never why they pushed me away in the first place. I understand that, Jennifer said softly, but do you ever think about how your children might feel one day? Hearing you speak about their grandparents, their uncle, their extended family like this? The question hit the room like a stone tossed into still water. Meghan's eyes sharpened to a dangerous glint. My children will be grateful I protected them from toxicity, she said, voice cutting clear. I refuse to romanticize people just because we share DNA or a last name that impresses strangers. The audience hovered between fascination, shock, and deep discomfort. Jennifer inhaled slowly, choosing her next words carefully. You use the word toxic frequently, she began, to describe institutions, people, the media. Do you ever think there's a possibility, without realizing it, that you might also contribute to some of that toxicity? Meghan paused briefly, then let out a scoff. Wow, there it is. The maybe you're the problem angle. I wondered how long it would take. Jennifer raised a hand in a calm gesture. I'm not saying you're the problem. I'm saying stories are complicated. Relationships are complicated. You've been at the center of a lot of conflict. It's reasonable to ask what part of that might be yours. Meghan's tone dropped cold and controlled. Jennifer, I came here to talk about my work and my journey, not to sit through a pseudo-therapy session where I'm blamed for protecting myself. Jennifer's smile thinned slightly. I understand, but our viewers aren't naive. They've seen the specials, read the headlines, watched interviews. When the story keeps returning to the same conflicts, it's natural for them to ask why. Meghan's lips curled into a tight smirk. Maybe because the media can't stand the idea of a woman refusing to be quiet. Maybe because people keep recycling the same questions instead of acknowledging that I've moved on. Jennifer's eyes flickered briefly. Have you? Have you truly moved on? Meghan's nostrils flared. Excuse me? You say you've moved on, Jennifer continued. But we are once again discussing the palace, the press, and the people who wronged you. You bring them up in every project and interview. So I'm asking, have you healed, or are you still caught up in it without realizing? A low murmur spread through the audience. For a moment, Meghan seemed unsettled, her fingers tightening on the armrest. That's a very presumptuous question, she said, and frankly, a little insulting. You don't know my inner world. I'm not claiming to, Jennifer replied, but you present your story in public repeatedly, and when someone reflects what they see, you call it an attack. Meghan leaned forward, eyes sharp. What I see is another host turning me into a villain because it makes good television. You invite me, praise my work, and then pivot into judgment. It's predictable and beneath you. A collective murmur passed through the crowd. Jennifer squared her shoulders slightly, maintaining her calm but adopting a firmer tone. You're right about one thing. It is predictable. Because every time you're asked a direct question, this is the reaction. Deflection, contempt, blaming everyone else. Meghan's face flushed. You're twisting my words. I'm repeating them, Jennifer replied. The tension in the room was tangible. A producer offstage signaled to stretch the segment. Jennifer did not look away. If you could go 1 year without mentioning the royal family, the media, or critics, what would you focus on? Meghan blinked. For a brief moment, her expression revealed anger and unease. Then she regained her composure. I'd talk about my impact, my projects, my influence, the things that matter, but people keep dragging me back to the past because they are focused on drama. Jennifer nodded slowly. Or perhaps that's the only part you have consistently shown. Gasps and whispers moved through the audience. Meghan's expression hardened. If your intention was to present me as self-absorbed and bitter, you should have said so up front. Jennifer's patience reached its limit, her next exhale audible. We're going to take a short break, she told the camera. When we return, we'll decide whether this conversation can continue in good faith. The audience reacted with a mixture of applause and disbelief. The band played, but the music could not mask one clear truth. Jennifer Hudson had reached the limit of her patience, and Meghan Markle was not accustomed to being told no. The inevitable confrontation would begin as soon as the cameras returned from the break. When the show resumed, the energy in the studio was taut. The band's upbeat music contrasted sharply with the lingering tension. Cameras moved back into position, and audience members whispered quietly, sensing that something significant was about to unfold. Jennifer sat poised, hands folded, her expression calm yet firm. This was not the easygoing warmth viewers were accustomed to. This was focus tempered by resolve. Meghan, on the other hand, sat perfectly straight, chin raised, jaw tightened. She had mastered composure over the years, but even through the cameras, faint cracks were beginning to show. Jennifer inhaled slowly and spoke evenly. Before the break, we had a tense conversation. I want to continue in a way that is respectful. To you, to me, and to everyone watching. Meghan's lips curved in a dismissive smirk. Respect goes both ways, doesn't it? Jennifer nodded. Yes, it does. A low murmur passed through the audience. She set her cards aside, signaling that she was moving off script. I invited you here because I believed we could have an honest conversation. But every question I've asked about your work, your growth, your relationships has been treated as an attack. Meghan's eyebrows rose. Because they were attacks, thinly veiled, but attacks nonetheless. Jennifer held her breath briefly, steadying herself. No, they were attempts to understand you better. But instead of engaging, you've responded with hostility, sarcasm, and blame. Meghan scoffed and crossed her arms. I speak my truth. I don't sugarcoat things to make the world comfortable. There's a difference, Jennifer replied, her tone sharpening, between speaking your truth and shutting down every question you don't like. Light applause rippled through the audience. Meghan blinked, momentarily stunned, then leaned forward, voice icy. So now I'm being scolded on national television because I don't perform the way you want me to? Jennifer's eyes narrowed slightly, but not in anger. No, you're treating this show, my show, as a platform for lecturing everyone and dismissing everything. That's not how conversations work. Meghan's lips parted in offense. Are you saying I'm the problem? Jennifer did not flinch. I'm saying this conversation hasn't been a conversation at all because you won't allow it to be." A long silence followed. Meghan's stare became sharp, venomous. "Wow. I didn't expect to be attacked by you, Jennifer. I thought you stood for women supporting women." Jennifer's expression shifted completely. Her warmth disappeared, replaced by clear, firm resolve. Supporting women doesn't mean accepting disrespect. It doesn't mean letting someone walk over your platform or your audience. It doesn't mean pretending someone is a victim when they are hurting those around them. The audience reacted audibly. Meghan appeared taken aback, as if the air had been knocked out of her. "You're twisting everything I say," she said, voice shaking. "No, Meghan," Jennifer replied, leaning back slightly. "You came here ready for a fight, ready to take offense, ready to blame. I don't think you know how to speak to people without assuming they're against you." Meghan's jaw dropped. "That's ridiculous," Jennifer continued, her voice quieter but firm. "I've tried every way I know to keep this conversation productive, but you are determined to find negativity in everything. You've dismissed your family, your critics, your colleagues, and now you're dismissing me." The audience went silent, breath held. Jennifer straightened in her seat, the final words deliberate. "And I'm sorry," she said, shaking her head, "but I cannot continue an interview where the guest refuses to engage in good faith." Meghan froze. "What is that supposed to mean?" she whispered. Jennifer looked directly at her, resolute, calm, and unwavering. "It means," Jennifer said clearly, "that this interview is over." The audience reacted immediately, some gasping, others murmuring in disbelief. Meghan blinked rapidly, her expression shifting from shock to indignation, then fury and disbelief. "You're ending the interview?" she demanded. "You're ending it?" "Yes," Jennifer replied calmly, "because this isn't healthy for you. It isn't healthy for me, and it isn't what our viewers deserve." Meghan stood abruptly, her voice rising. "This is outrageous. You're making a huge mistake. You think people won't see through this? You think they don't know who the real villain is here?" Jennifer remained seated, looking up at Meghan with steady composure. "I wish you well," she said softly, "but this isn't the place for the battle you came here to fight." Meghan scoffed, her breath shaking, eyes glossy with anger. "You know what?" she snapped. "I don't need this show. I don't need this audience, and I certainly don't need your judgment." She unhooked her microphone, letting it drop onto the chair, and strode toward the edge of the stage. Cameras followed as she disappeared behind the curtains. The audience remained silent, stunned. Jennifer inhaled deeply and faced the camera. "Ladies and gentlemen," she said, her voice measured, "we'll be right back." The band began to play, but the tension in the room lingered, heavy and palpable. That was the day Meghan Markle walked out of the Jennifer Hudson show. Not because she was silenced, but because, for the first time, someone refused to play along. Now it's your turn. Was Jennifer right to end the interview, or did things escalate too far? Share your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed the story, leave a like, subscribe for more dramatic narratives, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next episode.